All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Jermaine Morgan TV. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you just what the title said, how to fill in the gaps. Oftentimes in gospel music, we hear, especially with the modern bass players today, so many amazing players, we hear this stuff and we're trying to figure out how to apply this to our own playing, especially when it comes to certain style songs. And we're going to dig right into that today. All right, so without a lot of intro for this video, I don't want to do too much talking with this. So I want to jump right into this. I'm going to be using this backing track that is available on YouTube. I will link it at the end of this video, and also try to pin it in this video so you can go back and find this backing track. But I call it a high energy worship ballad for like Sunday morning. This is the type of track you will hear, or not track, but this is the type of vibe you will hear like on just a common worship song. The energy is really building, and it's going to be in the key of A, by the way, A major. All right, so by the way, yes, this is a different bass that I'm playing. Don't worry, I won't get into what it is. I'll tell you this: it's a Messenger by Warrior. Don't worry, I'll talk about this. I will be doing a bass review on this bass soon. We're not gonna focus on that right now. We're gonna deal with the actual topic, what we're here today for. You just gotta tune in, and I will do a review on this bass. But be listening for it, all right? So anyway, we're going to be in the key of A today, and we're doing, again, high energy worship ballad. So we're going to play through it, and what I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can work out on your own that's going to help you to better know what to do in situations like this, to be able to execute. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit of it, and then I'm going to give you my kind of breakdown of what I'm doing in here. All right, so let's go. I'm going to go right where we pick up here. Repeats. It goes back into that little whole progression. All right, so let's break this down and see what's the process that's happening here. I'm gonna back this track up a bit so I can get back into that point. So typically, and I want to just kind of address the instrumentation for this track. You can hear it's not overproduced. You don't hear a whole bunch of extra, colors and extra guitars, extra this, extra that. Typically, this is kind of what the average church has on a Sunday morning. It's going to be very stripped down to bare minimum. You have drums, you got piano. It's going to probably be you and maybe another little auxiliary piano. For some people, you don't even have that much, which in essence creates a lot of space for the bass player to kind of move around and push. Again, this is the average church setup, in terms of what you have going on Sunday morning. You don't have a lot of people there. So all that being said, when you have a really energetic young drummer like that's playing on this particular track and they're pushing, you're going to be looking like the one who's the weakest link in the band when you don't match the energy. Now, here's what I'm not trying to do in this video. I'm not trying to encourage anyone to overplay. That's not the intent of this video. It's more so to give you context and something to do to add and fill up the energy. Because I will tell you, as a music director, when it is a powerful moment like this, you're kind of looking for the band to help push and carry that moment in terms of the momentum, in terms of the energy, and you want to have something to do there. That's not necessarily overplaying. That's just being more aggressive, for lack of better words. All right, so the first point I want to make in this before I start breaking down everything that I'm doing is, number one, study the greats. And what I mean by that, if you have similar records that you've been listening to that kind of fit this field, and we all can kind of think of something. If you've been playing gospel or Christian music for a while, we have certain music. Let's say you're not going to, just want to be just black and white with this, not color wise in terms of skin, but being clear with what I'm saying. You're not going to probably hear a bass player pushing like that on like a Chris Tomlin or a Phil Wickman song. You probably won't hear a bass player that's playing really, really aggressive. However, if you have more contemporary gospel that's more worship driven, it's kind of the CCM driven song, but it's from a more, gospel side of things, then the bass player is going to be a lot more aggressive. So you're going to hear more ideas of things you can do. Maybe I'll mention like a J.J. Harrison, or hearing like even a Donnie McClurkin, Todd Galbert, Todd Dulaney, any of these people, when you're listening, and I'm just mentioning some of the more modern people outside of Donnie McClurkin, some of the more modern people who are in this space now that we're doing a lot of their music, like Todd Galbert, Todd Dulaney. You're doing a lot of their music. Well, you have to listen to those records and hear what these bass players are doing in their records and actually try to play what they're playing. Now, here's the thing. I've said this on many videos, but just in case you're new, we don't copy just for the sake of trying to sound like that bass player. No, we copy to learn the language. Once I know what the actual record is doing, then it gives me context of more things that I can actually do, right? And then for the point number two, and hopefully this video is really short, but for point number two, we want to work on a good sense of timing, right? We want to work on a really, really good sense of timing. And I'm going to go back to point number one because there's something I forgot to mention. But we want to really work on a good sense of timing. And that, like when we're hearing a drummer that's really stretching out, if he starts kind of going out, you need to know where that one is. Hopefully the drummer is not losing the one. This drummer that I have playing on this particular recording, he's a very, very solid drummer with a great sense of timing, but it's also my responsibility as a bass player, as he's stretching out and pushing the song, for me not to lose the foundation. And not only that, if I want to kind of join into some of that stuff with him where he's playing some of these riffs that I'll get into a little later, I need to have a good sense of timing so I don't get lost and can't get back to the one or the downbeat. So that's super, super important. So going back to point number one, where I was saying study the greats. As we're studying the greats, I've talked about this in multiple videos, but just in case you're new, I want to come back and mention this. There are generally 3 levels of learning that I talk about, that I teach. And that's number one, getting the meat and potatoes of the song, making sure you just know how the song is flowing, right? So let's put it in context. This is meat and potatoes. Right? Don't worry. With that backing track, I have the notes or the numbers. Right? So that's meat and potatoes, which is basically just get the foundation of what's happening so you can get through it. All right, level 2 is how they're moving through that progression. So if I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 to 5, if that is the progression, getting the meat and potatoes is the first thing, what I just played. The second one, okay, how can I move through that? If I was listening to the original, how would they be moving through that? So maybe it's like this. Notice that one had a little bit more movement in it. So in that second level of learning, or listening rather, I'm moving, like hearing that there's more octaves and fifths. So like that. So I'm hearing, instead of, I'm hearing more of the octaves. of that stuff in the second level of learning. The third level of learning that I want to listen for when I'm listening to the greats, I want to listen to the fine detail, all the little extra stuff that they're doing in between. So like I was playing around on this backing track. You could hear at the beginning. Let's go back. So right there, you can hear me playing, and I'm just playing along with the track for the sake of the backing track. So I'm going, like all of that little stuff, being able to strip that apart. Now that's the fine detail. I'm using that for an example, but that's the fine detail listening where you start stripping all of that apart. So come to see that that's the same pattern. So I'm going over that 4. So if I'm treating my 4 as my 1 in terms of position wise, so this is the key of A major, so I don't lose anybody. Key of A major, right? And so if I go to the 4, well, if I go to the 3 of that 4 and the 6 of that 4, flat 5 5. So I'll play that slow. And then we go 3 5 3 4, and then we repeat that pattern. So I'm doing this because I know somebody's gonna probably want to know what I played there. So I'll do it slow. 1 2 3 4. So in time. Right? And if you need it again, just rewind the video and go back to it. All right. So I just wanted to show you getting that fine detail, and what that does is that gives you context of what can happen. Okay, what can I play going from that 3 to that 4? Well, if I have listened to that record or several records that feel like this, it gives me so much more that I can pull from in terms of context, of ideas, of things that I can do. So I'm not limited just to the stuff that I know. I can pull from these greats or these players who are already playing on these records, add it to my repertoire of ideas, and I can continue to build from that. So last but not least, build your vocabulary. It's going to come down to that. It's kind of like us speaking and having a conversation with someone. It's hard to talk beyond what you know. You can't use words you don't know. So if you're not working on your vocabulary, you're going to say the same stuff over and over again. Well, the same goes for your playing. So if I only know how to do over the 4, and I don't know like just simple arpeggios, or 1, just taking something that simple, taking a simple arpeggio, but moving it around, because I don't want to just tell y'all what to do without giving you context of something you actually can do. So if we took, like, if we knew that progression is was not deal with the progression, if we took just the 1 and I moved on that 1, just taking a simple arpeggio to 1 3 5 1 3 5, octave 1 to octave 3. So if we do that, so I'm going 7 1. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm leading in to several notes. So we can take all of those and lead in. Essentially in a track like this, I don't want to do that on every single one. So maybe I'll go, what did I do there? That's why instead of going, I went, and And that way I'm adding an extra thing up under there. So I'm still filling those space. So there, instead of going to the, I went to the, right? So going to the 2 or the 9. And I can do that over the 4. So over the 1 first. Or I can go. So notice the fingering that I'm using is pretty close in, where I'm not really moving out of that box. So it's literally filling up the spaces just by me doing something simple. So so the progression is 6, 4, 1, 5, 6. Like that's the main chorus, but when it goes to the little bridge part, what we start in on, it's going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 5. So I can take up that entire space, but I got to be aware of what's happening around me in order to fill that up. So let's listen to it in context. I know I'm moving kind of fast because this is a lot of information, and I want to make sure I give you a lot of just value in this video. So let's go back to it in context. Let's do it again. I missed it. And that's part, and I'm glad that happened, because that's part of the practice. You want to see what is actually working. See if I can get away with that entire thing over that phrase. This is real practice right here. So it's kind of working, but I'm missing that 5, 6. It kind of worked. So maybe I need to get out of it a little quicker. And these are the types of things that I'm doing real time when I'm working out a lick or working out an idea to see if it, trying to fill up that groove in my own practice time. I don't wait only till I get to the rehearsal with everybody else to try these things. I probably already have sat in a practice room and worked through them and see this kind of works, that don't work. Some of the stuff happens in the spur of the moment, but most of the time, if you can sit in a practice room or in your own practice time and work out these things, kind of like I'm doing now, it's going to benefit you a lot more. So now I'm going to see what feels better. If maybe going up an octave and doing the same thing feels a little better. So that's put me back on the 4 where I don't want to be. It kind of works, but I need to be getting to that 6 instead of on that 4. So maybe we can make that adjustment, and let's see what that feels like. Because again, this is practical stuff I want you to be able to do on your own. Right here. Okay. All right, let's back up. So what did I do there? So I went. So I went back on that 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And I did that move over my 4 that we were talking about earlier. 5, 6, 7, 1. So I did the same thing, 7, 1. And I was only using that to get back to so were we going so I went however I want to get to that 5. I'm just finding multiple ways of doing things, but the biggest thing is I want to keep that bass line driving the whole time. I'm not trying to overplay the song, but if the drum has high energy, then I want to find a way to match that energy with not necessarily just I don't want to just play riffs and runs. I'm moving the bass line along, being more aggressive. There's a difference. I want to make sure that I'm pointing that out. It's just not me playing it. We can do all of that, but does it take away from the groove? The thing that I'm trying to put in here is going to be something that actually adds to pushing the song forward. So let's do it again in context. Notice that I caught some of that with the drummer, because once you kind of really develop your sense of rhythm, and like a really, really strong sense of rhythm, and you're playing with a really good drummer, you start anticipating. I'm talking about a really aggressive drummer, not just a drummer that keeps the pocket in a really good, solid pocket drummer, but a drummer that has a really strong pocket and he can stretch out. When you start really developing your sense of time and you start to anticipate what those drummers are going to do, and you can kind of catch some of it with the rhythm, and it makes for fun playing, for lack of better words. I know some people are like, yeah, the drummer is doing too much, and that to each his own. But for those of us who operate in these spaces and we understand like the music is really pushing, you have a lot of, especially younger musicians, high energy musicians, you want to keep up. So what do we do to keep up with these younger, high energy musicians and also not compromise the integrity of the song? Well, we got a number two, develop a really strong sense of rhythm. You have to have a really strong sense of timing or rhythm, however you want to look at it. So when they start doing stuff like that, you don't get lost. So let's go back. So there's a lot of other things that I'm pulling out that I'm doing in the gaps. When I'm seeing that there's a long hold, I'm paying attention to where my spaces are. So when we're filling in spaces, I'm paying attention to where the spaces are. Now, this particular example is a slightly different example because we don't have any vocals there to really play off, to know not to step on the vocals. That's another thing. You want to know where your vocals are so you don't get in the way of the vocals. In this particular instrumental, we're not worried about that as much. And we do have those moments in worship where it's big energy, it's just the band playing. But find your moments, find your spots. Where are some good spots? Well, you see when we have those holds, if I'm just holding that and the drummer is going for it, well, I found some moments where and I'm just, and again, that's going to come from your own vocabulary. That's going to come from your own interpretation. What I played was something that I would have probably done in a moment like that, you know. Something like that, a lot more cleaner. But, you know, you're finding your moments. You don't necessarily want to be a copycat of anybody, but you do want to, going back to the whole listen to the greats and copy the greats to figure out what they're doing, but don't make that all you do. Add your own stuff to it. Work on your own licks, your own feels, your own interpretations of things that you can do, and work it in each song that you play. Don't get tired of playing your stuff. Find variations of the things that you're already doing, because those are going to be your go-to licks, your go-to ideas, the things you've already been doing on a regular basis. But you got to work them out in different rhythms. I talked about this a few lessons back. Find different ways, different rhythms of playing the same thing that you've been playing, but different contexts. Create multiple alternatives for playing the same thing, but also add this other stuff that you're getting. But hopefully you guys got the point. This is just probably an introductory lesson to this idea of different things that you can play. And those are the 3 points that I wanted to make for you guys today. So again, number 1 was listen to the greats, right? Study the greats. Number 2 is work on a strong sense of timing. And number 3, build your own personal vocabulary. And by doing all 3 of these things, I guarantee you, you're going to be more stronger when you play and way more confident in the ideas that you try to execute in the moment. So anyway, if this has been a helpful lesson for you guys, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. I'm enjoying this content that I'm creating for you all. Make sure you're engaging. If you didn't catch my video last week, I'll probably pin it at the end of this video so you guys can go back and watch that and let me know some things that you'd like to learn. And also stay tuned. I will be doing a review of this Warrior. This is a messenger bass, and I'm not going to talk too much about it here. Let me know what you thought about the tonality, the sound of this bass. I'm still getting used to it. I've only had it for a few days, so that's why I haven't done a review yet, because I'm still learning and getting comfortable with this bass. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful, beautiful bass. And bolt on, as you can see. We'll talk about that later. So let me know what you guys think about the sound of this bass, and I will see y'all on the next video. Also, last but not least, lest I fail to mention, if you want more of this in-depth teaching on these types of tracks, I do have backing tracks available that you can play to here on the channel, as well as ones that you can buy on JermaineMorgan.net. And I also have the instructionals where I teach you how to play through these things, and we're walking through it step by step. So I'm breaking down these progressions and everything, not this track, but tracks that are similar in nature, that give you a context of how to play this. If all of this is new to you and you want to get more into it, I'll put a link where you can go check that out on JermaineMorgan.net. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I'm out. Thank y'all for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.